Okay, welcome everybody. Go ahead and start the meeting. We are reconvening from closed session. In closed session, we received information, negotiations and collective bargaining with PGTA and CSEA. And we will now proceed to have the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you would please mute yourself, and I will lead as soon as we have the flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. This is a special board meeting, so we don't have all the normal public comments and so forth. So we are now going to the consent agenda, and the consent agenda is considered routine unless the board would like to pull the items or have a question. Board, is there any questions, comments on the consent agenda?
I'd like to comment.
Let's go online. Christy?
Yeah. Not at this time, thanks.
Let's see. Okay, go ahead, John.
Well, I'd like to commend there are 3 retirees listed under consent and really compliment Lynn Clements, Jeannie DiTomoso, and Barbara Hurst for their service. They have been fixtures at Forest Grove in a very positive way for many, many years. And my personal association with all of them has been very positive, and I really want to congratulate them and wish them the best of luck moving forward into retirement.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Brian, any?
No, I've got nothing, thanks.
Okay. John Walton? Any comments on the consent?
No.
Okay. I also would like to just acknowledge the retirees. They all had a part in both of my sons, and I wish them luck and happiness, I guess, in their retirement. It's always sad to see people go, but I hope that is good for them. I appreciate all that you guys have done for the schools. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I did that without crying. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve it.
Okay, John, I think I heard John first. Christy. So John,
I second it, please.
Okay, motion made by John Paff, seconded by Christy Dawson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall?
Aye.
Trustee Dawson?
Aye.
Trustee Paff?
Aye.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye.
Trustee Walton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That passes 5-0.
Madam President, if I may.
Yes.
I just wanted to also, on behalf of a very grateful district, appreciate and acknowledge Lynn, Jeannie, and Barb as well, just in terms of the amazing amount of work that they've done. They leave a very strong legacy in the Forest Grove Falcon family, as well as the entire district, and just wishing them the very, very best. And I hope they realize that while they may be retiring, they will certainly not be forgotten. We're just grateful to have had the time to work with them here in the district. So anyway, I wish them well as well.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to action discussion. We only have one item to discuss other than the reopening, so we'll go to that. We're gonna memorandum of understanding with the Pacific Grove Teachers Association. Dr. Porras, anything additional or?
No, Madam President. I think unless lead negotiator Buck Rogerman would like to speak to this item, as I want to congratulate and thank the PGTA and the district team for really just working so well together. And as our lead negotiator noted, I think everyone really wanted to make this process work on behalf of our students and our employees. And I just really applaud the genuine, heartfelt effort that everyone put into getting this taken care of. And I think the product is very good, and we're happy with the results. And again, I'll certainly lead it up to the lead negotiator if you wanted to ask anything else, but that's up to you, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rogelman has got his hand raised.
Can't hear.
Well, he has to unmute himself first. I'm trying to unmute him.
There we go.
There
We
we go.
think I have the hang of it by now.
Hey.
Madam President, I just want to extend my great gratitude to the PGTA members of the negotiating team. Everybody in that room had a solution-oriented mindset, and all of the conversations were respectful, and it really kind of represented the very best of the district and the PGTA working together to do the absolute very best that we possibly can for our students, given circumstances that are anything but the very best. And so on behalf of the district, I just want to extend my thanks and my gratitude to PGTA, led by President Shannon McCarty, and all of the other members that were there. Because I really feel that with the district and PGTA working together, we're really going to be able to accomplish just about anything. Thank you.
Yeah. And Mr. Rogelman, thank you for all your hard work on this as well. I really appreciate both sides, and that in these difficult times especially, it's a lot to go over. I'm just going to go to the board for any additional questions or comments. Christy?
No, a huge thank you for the collaborative effort. I mean, these times are so trying as a district, and to have people coming together with solutions in mind and working so cohesively. Huge thank you from the board.
Thank you. John Paff?
No comments.
Okay. Brian?
No, I've got nothing. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. John Walton?
No, I just, want to echo what Buck said. I appreciate, it's a very stressful time. I know there's a lot of different opinions on this, and I know this MOU addresses a lot of the concerns the staff had and teachers had about safety, and I appreciate the administration and teachers working together on it. I know many of them, most of them will be doing distance learning. Some of them probably will have to come on campus in special situations, and I know some of them want to come on campus because it's easier to teach from there. So I think this MOU really addresses that whole spectrum of concerns and needs and desires, and I really appreciate the hard work that went into it.
Great. Thank you, John. Okay, we're going to go ahead and open this up for public comment. If you have any public comment on this, go ahead and raise your hand. I see Shannon McCarty. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to echo all of the same things that you guys were saying, but from the PGTA perspective, I think that I'm really appreciative to the members that all worked on the team, and the administration did a great job with working and really trying to understand where we're coming from and what we're looking for. And I think that it was a really hard thing to do and a lot of work, but we're very appreciative with how hard the district worked for us as well.
Thank you, Shannon. Okay, I'm seeing no other public comment. I'll bring it back to the board for a motion, please.
Make a motion, we approve the MOU as presented.
I'll second. Okay, so we have a motion by John Paff, second by Debbie Crandall. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall?
Aye.
Trustee Dawson?
Aye.
Trustee Paff?
Aye.
Trustee Swanson?
Aye.
Trustee Walton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That passes 5-0. We do have action item B, the memorandum. Yes?
Do we need to announce on the agenda action discussion D?
Yes, I'm going to do that very shortly.
Okay.
I should have probably done that earlier, but we are not discussing item B tonight, just for those of you that are following the agenda. That shall come back before at another time. We are adding action item D, which is going to be the elementary distance learning plans. So we're going to first have the presentation for the high school, middle school, and any other operations that might be presenting. And board, if it's okay with you, what I think we'll do is pause after each school site to allow 15 to 20 minutes of questions for that school site, and then go to the next one, and then we'll have another 20 minutes at the end if there's any remaining questions. Does that work? Are there any objections? Okay, great. Okay, so Dr. Porras, I will hand it over to you for the academic distance learning plan.
Very good. Thank you, Madam President. And I'm just about to share my screen here. As we have been doing at past board meetings, we're continuing to update our academic and operational reopening plans. And as we are able to get more clarity on the changing situation, we add those to the document. The document I'm currently sharing right now, we've just updated to as recent as about 2 hours ago. Pending whatever approvals happen with the board, we'll then post this onto the website afterwards. As you have seen from the 2 town halls that we had this week, and I just wish to add that I really appreciate everyone's work on getting those town halls organized and going, and all of the folks in the public that were provided a lot of active questions and answers and comments. So we had well over 150 and more participants in each of those. And tonight's item that we're asking the board to approve are the distance learning only plans from the middle school and the high school. These are the plans that were already reviewed at the town hall meetings. We made some adjustments based on input that we received from the public or employees. And we believe that those plans fit the best that we can put together for our students. We realize that it will not answer everyone's questions or desires. But at the same time, we think that they're the best options that we have to provide the optimal environment and academic programs for our students. So what I'd like to do tonight is go ahead and go over the high school plan first, and then we'd go to the middle school. And then there were some questions in regards to food service. And so I'm happy to have our Director Lip address those if the board wishes us to do so. And then finally, I could just add a couple of quick updates in regards to what's been happening with facilities, and Director Kelly can add to that if necessary. So if that works out okay, Madam President, we'll go in that direction.
Sounds good.
Okay. So what you see on the screen now are the adjustments that we've made to the high school plan. As you recall, in the past, all of the plans had to do with hybrid schedules. And this is when students would be partially on the campus and partially at home. Due to the governor's recent order, we are in a mandated distance learning situation. And so we had to get schedules in place that allow for just distance learning. So in that regards, I'm going to go ahead and have Principal Garcia and Assistant Principal Steinbach present this as we did at the town hall. We'll do it briefly, but we'll go from there. So Principal Garcia.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Porras. So just a very quick recap on how we have developed our plan to this point. We have held 4 voluntary staff meetings. We have held 3 town hall meetings. This will be our 4th board presentation. And we've also conducted 2 input surveys that reached out to parents, students, and staff. And we feel we have put together the best schedule to meet the greatest needs that have been brought to our attention: physical safety, social emotional well-being, and academics. Next slide, please. So taking the alternate schedule that we presented at our last board meeting, which was a hybrid model, and knowing now that we are going to begin school on August 12th in a distance learning model, we have taken our alternate schedule and adjusted it to fit into a distance learning model. With that, on Monday, students will meet asynchronously with their classes, period 1, 2, 4, and 6. There is a little asterisk next to period 1, as you can see at the bottom of the page. Period 1 could occur during quarter 2 for some students. Tuesday through Friday, students will be synchronously meeting periods 1, 2, 4, and 6. This will be the schedule for the start of the school year. In previous versions, we had periods 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we use those as a sample. We have now done an analysis of our master schedule and determined that this structure of periods is the best structure for students and staff. So this would be for quarter 1, and this is how we will start the school year. Next slide, please. If we are not able to meet our tier 2 conditions, as was outlined last week, and we have to continue in distance learning, then we will continue with the bell structure here, as you see. But now, being that it's the second quarter, we will have periods 1, 3, 5, and 7. And again, the asterisk next to period 1, some students may have period 1 during the first quarter. Next slide, please.
That's it.
That's it. All right. If we are able to go into tier 2 during, oh, here we go. Thank you. If we are able to go into tier 2 in the second quarter, then we will implement the hybrid alternate schedule. And we will have periods 1, 3, 5, and 7. Again, period 1, some students may have it the first quarter. This is what the schedule will look like. On Mondays, we will be asynchronous. On Tuesdays, students will have one class. It'll be their period 3 class. We will have a group of students in the morning and a group of students in the afternoon. There will be an hour-and-a-half break between the cohorts to allow for teacher preparation and cleaning of the classrooms. Wednesday is period 5, Thursday is period 7, and if a student has period 1, they would have that on Friday. Next slide, please. Third quarter, so second semester. If we are unable to get to tier 3, then we would begin and are able to stay within tier 2. We would maintain the hybrid schedule, and we would now have periods 1, 2, 4, and 6. And that's the conclusion of our presentation tonight for our distance learning and hybrid models.
Dr. Porras, is it okay that we pause here?
Yeah,
and
I'm
open
gonna,
up for.
would you like me to turn this screen off or leave the schedule on so people can refer to it?
Please leave it on.
Yeah, let's leave it on for now,
Okay,
please.
very good.
Okay, so this is time for a public comment for the high school that was just presented. So you'll have time to ask questions after all the presentations as well. But this, if you have a question regarding or comment regarding high school, go ahead and raise your hand. And if you don't know, in the middle of your screen at the bottom, you'll click on participants, and then over on the right, you'll be able to raise your hand. So we have, first up is, and I just want to say, I'm going to allow 15 minutes through each site. And then of course we'll have 20 to 30 minutes at the end. Okay, so first up is Sarah Chavez, and I'll go ahead and unmute you.
Thank you very much for all your hard work that you've put towards this. According to the SB 98, it states that distance learning can be offered to students who fit the criteria. The planning committee has addressed all of the full distance learning for the students who remain in distance learning, but who might participate in the hybrid model. We have heard the plan for the distance learning in the hybrid, but what is going to happen to the students who do not return to the classroom in that October time period if we go back to school? So I would like to know is what is the plan for students who are going to do full-time distance learning from August to December? As a parent, I would suggest looking into a vetted curriculum with proven platforms such as Edmentum. Another option would be for students to roll in independent studies. And I would suggest that these students start on one of these platforms from day one for continuity of their learning. So what does that plan look like?
As it
Well,
stands right now, this is our plan. And as is on the screen right now, our distance learning plan. And if we are able to meet tier 2 in the second quarter, for those students who are going to continue in distance learning, we would then fold them into our hybrid model to support them academically. If we were not able to meet the tier 2 criteria, we would continue with this distance learning schedule.
So from my understanding is that this summer teachers were participated in online learning training, which is very different than in classroom training. But for that second half, if those kids don't get to go back, they will be receiving instruction that is provided for in class versus out of class, which doesn't parallel what the training was given this summer for teachers. So you're providing almost two different types of curriculum for students that don't match.
The curriculum will be continuous. What they're offering as far as instruction will be a combination of synchronous and asynchronous in order to meet our instructional minutes.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, again, you can have another time at the end of the meeting before we vote on this. Next up is John Paff.
Debbie, did you want to have board input on any of these in the interim, or how are you going to do that?
Yeah, we can. I was going to open it up for the public first, just to get questions out there. And if the board would like to ask questions as well in between.
Well, I'll wait for any, so that you have a logical progression if there's any other member of the public.
Yeah, there is actually no hands up at the moment, so go ahead.
Yeah, so, you know, one of the things I really, I personally need to say, you know, I'll put on, is I want to give some serious thanks to Mr. Garcia, who has stepped into this domain at a time where it's almost impossible. And the effort that he's had and the difficulty that every district has had. I mean, up until a week and a half ago, there was no firm direction from the state. And I really want to congratulate him for putting together a schedule. None of these schedules are as perfect can be. They are all distance learning, and we will all make changes a little bit as we get better. But this schedule that's presented is really going to work. And I want to thank him, and I want to thank his staff, and I really want to thank the teachers at the high school for putting this and giving us a position where we can move forward. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, I'm going to go back to the question to public comment. We have Desi.
Good evening. I have a question. Mr. Garcia mentioned on Tuesday at the town hall meeting that they will be meeting today, a group will be meeting today to decide on registration for high school students. Do we know what that's going to look like and when it's going to be? Is it going to be in person? Thank you.
Yeah, so we did have our first meeting, and we've come up with some action items, and we do need to continue to meet to pick a time and a structure that's going to be safe for everyone. And our goal is to have some information out to our parent community no later than Tuesday of next week.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Michelle Ford.
Hi, yes. I just want to thank, well, first let me echo John Paff's gratitude to Lito Garcia for joining us in our community and diving in and doing so much to lead this effort. And I want to express our family's enthusiasm for the plan as set forth by the high school. I think this is absolutely fantastic, and the responsiveness of the high school to the public and to suggestions from the public has been absolutely outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm seeing no other public comment at the moment, so we will not go back to public comment for the high school until the end. So if you have a question, please hold on to it. I'm going to come back to the board though. Christy, if you have any questions about this high school presentation. She might be muted.
Here we go. Now I couldn't be unmuted unless the host did it. Thank you, Jonathan. Again, the transparency of all this, the involvement of the community and getting everybody together. We can't make all the stakeholders happy, but I think this addresses so many pieces as we move forward and allows for a certain fluidity depending on what is in front of us. And since we don't know what's going to unfold, this is, I think this is a very nice model and a lot of hard work, and I'm very happy with what I'm seeing. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Brian?
Yeah, more than anything, just a comment, no real questions. Again, I want to acknowledge everybody that was involved in putting this together, because it was certainly no easy task, and it saw many changes as we worked our way through this before we finally got some sort of guidance from up above as to how we were really going to do this. I know, like Christy had said, you know, it's not going to make everybody happy, but I think that that it does a really good job of addressing the things that we know right now. There are things that we don't know that, or things that might occur. We don't really know when everybody's going back, and we could sit and guess about that all day long. I think some of those things are just going to have to be tackled as they present themselves, and I have confidence in everybody, the entire community, in addition to staff and the teachers and the students, that when we're presented with those issues, like what we're looking at right now, we will find answers to those issues and deal with those as effectively as we have here. So that's all.
Thank you, Brian. John Walton, any comments, questions?
Thanks, Debbie. No questions, just comments from two different perspectives. You know, as a trustee, you know, I do want to say, I think, you know, appreciate Principal Garcia creating the town hall forums, looking for input. You know, the first time we talked about this, I think a lot of people felt like they didn't have a voice and didn't have a forum to speak their mind. So I appreciate him doing that. Also, as a trustee, you know, I feel like it's important we give direction. We're getting short on time, very short on time. And I think it's important, like many have said, that we pick a path forward, whether it's perfect or not. So, you know, with that said, if we move forward with this tonight, I'm prepared to vote in favor of it. But I will say, you know, as a parent, I have to put my parent perspective in here. I don't like this schedule. I know we're trying to make as many people happy as some people have put it, but I don't think we've gone far enough. I think there were a lot of good ideas presented by parents and students that didn't make it into this version, and I'm disappointed by that.
Okay. Thank you, John. From my perspective, I think this the staff at the high school and Assistant Principal Steinbeck and Principal Garcia have done a fabulous job, and time put into this. And it's not going to be perfect, but I think it looks pretty good. And it's easy to know your either periods are even or odd, and everybody's doing the same thing. So, you know, and this whole time is hard for everybody. So I think that we've all done our best that we can. And if we have to change it, we change it. But for now, this is, I think, the good way to go for the high school. So we will vote on this later. We're not voting now. This is just our comments. So Principal Garcia, did you have anything else to add?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Dr. Porras, back to you.
Very good, Madam President. Thank you. I'm going to bring us over to the middle school now, and give me a moment to get to those slides. And then I'm going to go ahead and invite Principal Roach and Assistant Principal Tavani to go ahead and speak to their schedule at this point in time.
Thank you, Dr. Porras. Trustees, my name is Sean Roach. I'm the proud principal of Pacific Grove Middle School. And in case you didn't catch us last night, here's a brief overview of the PGMS distance learning schedule. Next slide, please. So I'm not going to talk yet. I just to kind of drink it in. I think that helped a little bit last night. This is also called teacher wait time, by the way. So you can see that the blue areas are synchronous instruction. That includes live instruction in which the teacher interacts directly with the students. The classes are 80 minutes per class. We're doing an even odd schedule at this point. And of the 240 mandated minutes, 2/3 or 160 of those minutes are synchronous minutes, meaning live interaction with their teachers. We decided to build in a Monday, which includes the asynchronous work time. Now, it might not be necessary for all students to have that time, but we wanted to really kind of think of it from a family and a parent standpoint about creating a schedule at home for them to follow if, in fact, they need that Monday. We are also adhering to the 5 days of interaction for our schools. And we're definitely keeping our lens fixed firmly on social emotional issues. As you guys can see on that Monday, there's an advisory period. And we have a number of things. Okay, so we've been in trainings all week. This is day 4 of 5, in which we've discussed continuing our Character Strong program to make sure students are supported and learn strong character traits, as well as kind of a check-in with students, not only a social emotional check-in, but also a check-in in regards to what's working for them. What's working in this distance learning model? What is not working in this distance learning model? And as you kind of look a little bit farther down on Monday, you're going to see quite a bit of time for teacher collaboration to discuss our students of concern, to discuss our students who might be disengaged, some of our successes, and a little bit of feedback on what's working and what's not. Because I think that the key to the beginning of this school year really is to learn by doing and to be able to adapt based on what students and families are saying at this point. From the period 1 standpoint, that's just a little bit different. So we offer some period 1 classes, which are technically before the school day. And those are PE, AVID, and choir. Now those classes are 40 minutes in length, but they last 4 days a week, which add up to the 80 minutes of instructional time. Also too, in reading quite a bit of research, and today was our trainings on social emotional learning and trauma-informed practices, we discovered that it's really key for students and teachers and even administrators to take a break from their computer, stand up, kind of get the wiggles out, and come back focused and refreshed. Another thing too, I would just want to add is in that 80-minute schedule, it really allows for what's called a gradual release of responsibility. So a student, or a teacher rather, is able to present a topic, allow students in a very scaffolded kind of helpful manner to understand that topic. And then at the end of the class, it allows everybody to kind of come back and say, you know, I understood this, I didn't get this. What can we do from here? So I think it's a fantastic schedule. It is, like I said before, it's fully 2/3 of synchronous learning, and it maintains instructional minutes each and every week. Next slide. Some of the strengths, obviously, the 160 synchronous live minutes, daily interaction with teachers and students. The block schedule allows for lesson flexibility, kind of what I talked about with the gradual release. It takes into account that Mondays are often holidays, and this would allow us no interruption of instructional time. It allows for continuation of our incredibly important social emotional learning and our character development work during our advisory class. Next schedule, please. Or I'm sorry, next slide, please. Significant time for staff to collaborate and train so that we can continually improve and respond to feedback and student needs. It balances instruction, as I said. So each week has an equal amount of instructional minutes for each and every class. And we also wanted to provide, like I said earlier, some instructional time for asynchronous work on Monday so that parents can utilize that time and keep their student routinized. All synchronous instructional minutes fit into a typical school day from 8 to 3, so school does not interrupt family time. Only 3 classes, Tuesday through Friday, reduces the likelihood of students feeling overwhelmed. And that's, of course, something we're going to kind of help them on. And I think it's important that we really kind of get to know our students first and foremost. I think that's the biggest thing. I know we need to assess our students because of potential learning loss. For those results, though, to be valid, we really need to lower that objective filter of our students, get to know them, have them feel safe and comfortable so we can really ascertain what they know or some of their challenges. I'm not sure I have a next slide, but I'm just going to call for it anyway. All right. Madam President, I am ready for questions.
Great. We did go a little bit out of order before, so I'll come back to the board. I'll go ahead and I don't have any, well, actually I do have a question. Mr. Roach, would you mind touching a little bit on how the attendance is going to go? You mentioned that during the town hall yesterday.
Absolutely, and it was a big find. And so what we're learning, and there's a myriad of things that we're waiting for Google to come out with, including breakout rooms for collaborative work for students and such. One of the things, though, is that they intend to provide a report, and that report will be based on the students that attend a Google Hangout. So during that synchronous time, when the teacher is interacting with the students, providing direct instruction, doing a gradual release of responsibility, Google is taking account those students that are there, and even includes things like the number of time or the amount of time that they've actually been in that class. And so pending kind of when that release is, I think personally that would be a wonderful way and an easy way to take attendance rather than kind of getting into the instructional minutes a little bit by taking that time at the beginning to take attendance. So I'm really looking forward to what Google has to offer.
Great. Thank you.
For sure.
I think it's going to be a good tool, especially for the middle school age.
And you know something, they're really reacting to the current climate. Google is doing a wonderful job of that.
Good. Okay, thank you. And also thanks to all the staff and your team that put this together, because I think it was a lot of work that you guys put into this, and I think it's going to work.
It was a wonderful experience. Everybody was on board with it, and it's funny, this is probably the 5th or 6th incarnation of the schedule, so it was a lot of fun. But we did end up with consensus, and in sharing it with the staff, I've heard nothing but positive reviews.
Great. Christy, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I like that the advisory is there as far as setting up that kind of home base that's comparable to what maybe a resource teacher would be in special ed, that you have somebody to go to who might oversee and kind of be a place where you can kind of connect with that kid and make sure things are working right. And I'm most excited with the words direct instruction, to have those teachers with those kids, 4 days a week and working with them. I just want to make sure the educational process is rigorous and robust. And I think this goes so far with doing that. So I'm delighted to see it. So very, very happy at the changes you've made.
I appreciate it, and I have to say there was a level of excitement. This is we're looking at this as kind of virgin territory and something where you need to kind of create and innovate. And I think that kind of spirits the entire staff and kind of saying, let's look at this as a challenge that we want to meet head on. And we are a growth mindset school. So if it doesn't work, we'll fix it and find another way.
Perfect. Good work.
Thank you, Christy. John Paff?
This schedule is pretty rock solid. Like the high school, I appreciate that it starts a little bit later. I think that's going to benefit all of our students. It's a little different from the high school in that it's trying to fit 6 study periods in basically every class every week. And I think what the high school has done is very solid for that age level. I think it's going to work very well, but I don't think it would have drawn down quite so quickly. And the reason at the high school, I think, is a little more intensity, but then not trying to cover such a broad subject range. It's those students are going to be able to handle that. At the middle school, you've actually said we're going to put in a little bit more buffer. We're going to try, and you talked about homework, I believe, a little last night. Very impressed last night. I think you guys did a great job presenting. And also, I just want to say the questions that were asked range from very easy to very difficult. Things like, what about sports? Well, that's pretty easy. CIF has said none. Right. You guys were well on top of it.
For sure.
The hard things like, how do you know students are actually looking at their screen? That's far more difficult. And, you have a solution, but it's not tested by anybody yet. So we're going to get there. Very impressed with this, Sean. Thank you very much. And thank you and your staff and Jason. Really a lot of hard work in this. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Brian, anything?
Yeah, just to kind of as I'm looking at period 1 and I see PE and Avid and choir on there, in particular PE and choir. Have you guys sorted out yet at all any ideas as how that gets done? And I don't see, I'm assuming it's in somewhere within the other periods there, but for those students that might be taking an instrument of some sort, are you able to address any of that?
Absolutely, every single one. So let's start with PE. We have a distance learning curriculum that we've partnered with the high school on. And so the PE classes during the day would be the same as the PE class during that first period. It would just chop the 80 minutes up into daily 40-minute classes. And they're really looking forward to kind of doing that. As far as choir is concerned, I know that Mr. Mazur had spoken to the elementary schools the day before last, and I'm looking forward to speaking with him myself. It's something we definitely intend to include in our schedule because I think that's something that students enjoy, and I think we need to provide that for them. And so the majority of what Mr. Mazur does is at the elementary school, so it makes logical sense to me that after they make their plan, then we get together and make our plan. And I'm sorry, Trustee Swanson, what was your last question?
About kids that would be taking an instrument, studying an instrument of some sort.
That would be included during the day. So let's say they had strings period 4. They would arrive on Tuesday and Thursday between 11:15 and 12:40 and 12:35.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It will be.
And they have a wonderful virtual program called Smart Music.
Okay, great. That you answered my question before I even got a chance to answer that. So I'm going to check into that. I know that it's been a particular challenge for the, for musicians of all sorts as they deal with life in the virtual world, how we handle that stuff. And I have no doubt that the challenges are equal when it comes to instruction. So I'm going to check that out. I know there are ways and great ideas and things that people are using to get through it. So I appreciate your answers to all of those questions. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brian. John Moulton, do you have anything to ask?
Just a comment, thank you, Principal Roach, for creating the forums for people to be able to ask questions and engage. I know almost to a person, everyone I spoke with that was part of those was very appreciative, not only the opportunity, but also your style. I think, that really came through, that you care and value people's input, and appreciate that very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As a principal and also the father of a incoming sixth grader.
Okay, thank you, board. I will go ahead and open it up for about 10-15 minutes or so for questions from the public. And first up is Michelle.
Hi again. Yeah, thank you to Sean and to others at the middle school for developing this schedule. I'm enthusiastic about it. My question is a more general one pertaining both to the middle school and the high school, and that concerns the forum for the delivery of the distance learning. Our family has a great affinity for Zoom, and I know that there were some challenges in the spring with respect to the security of Zoom, but it's just so easy to use, and because it does afford, as Sean referenced, the opportunity to go into breakout rooms already, I just would hope that perhaps the district is willing to reconsider the use of Zoom in its distance learning. I know that this week we are using it very successfully for the conduct of the WAVE Writers Program. So we have about 27, or I should say, my daughter, Caroline Cohen, is running a creative writing camp for 27 fourth graders in the district, a free program, and they're using Zoom to great success. So anyhow, we just have a particular bias towards it, and I think the music students in particular prefer Zoom to other formats. So I wonder what the district has to offer in that regard, Zoom or another method of delivery. Thank you.
Well, if I may, that's a great question. I actually last night used Zoom for the first time and had to kind of iron out some wrinkles, but I did enjoy using it. That's kind of a dependent question at this point. There's a couple of things that Zoom, first of all, our staff is fully comfortable using Zoom, and I think our students are comfortable engaging in, I should say Google Hangouts. And our students are comfortable engaging in Google Hangouts as well. So we're waiting a couple of the upgrades at this point that I hope to get. And I like how it integrates with the greater Google Classroom. I think that's a very positive thing. So I will obviously acquiesce that question to the tech guys if need be. But at this point, I think we're really rather conversant in the Google Hangouts at this point.
Okay, next up is Heloisa.
Hi there, good evening. Thank you everybody for the enormous amount of work that you're all putting into this. And I can only imagine everything you have to think about. I kept going back and forth if I should ask this question here or not, and pardon me if it's not appropriate. My daughter was asking about if you guys are giving any consideration into maybe placing kids in cohorts that would include maybe little pods of kids, like if the kids would have any choice on a couple friends that they would want to have in the same classes with them. I imagine the logistics of that are difficult. I know there are a number of different computer programs that can match, there are ways to match this electronically. It won't be anybody, doing this on pen and paper, I imagine. So if this is not appropriate, pardon me, but it's just a thought out there that I think deserves consideration as the kids feel so isolated and lonely, you know, since March.
That's a good question, and I'm just going to give a kind of a quick response to it. 12-year-old Mr. Roach would have loved that. However, I think that presents quite a bit of a problem. What we're doing is we need to maintain balance in our classes. The student-to-teacher ratio is a very important thing, and so being able to select classes with friends is really not a priority or a consideration for us at this point. So it's really not something other than if there happened to be a conflict between a couple of students, then that's a kind of a different matter. But as far as picking classes with friends, I have to tell you, it pales in comparison with leveling classes and having students in each class have the most instructional time and face-to-face time with the teacher that they possibly can.
Thank you, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn Swanson?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hearing my comments. I had a question that popped in my head after listening to the high school and now listening to the middle school. And I love that you guys are saying that we can adapt as we go. I wanted to ask, what does that process of adapting as we go look like? And should we possibly set a future agenda item date of a revisit of how everything is going, a serious check-in, and perhaps not even a survey, or perhaps in combination with the survey, maybe we could actually identify certain families in each group of our most vulnerable students and specifically reach out to them one-on-one and do a check-in, perhaps a little bit after the school year began. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carolyn, thank you for the question. That is a humongous question, and I could probably go until 9:30 or 10 o'clock tonight. So the adapt as we go really is contingent upon teacher collaboration and getting together as groups and discussing students as a whole, but also individual students. Last year, we launched a program that we did quite often called Students of Concern. And what we did was we discussed how students are progressing academically, but also social emotionally. We found that in the past, oftentimes teachers may come across a student who was having difficulty in an area. Perhaps it was a divorce at home or a loss of a job or something like that. And formerly, that teacher may be the only teacher that knows that, but we found that when we came together as a staff, we understood how if a student kind of falls off a cliff, so to speak, now we know why, and we can begin to intervene in that. I think a part of our advisory class too on Monday, if you take a look at that, is a check-in with students to see what's working and what's not working. And I think that really is key to our success in this and key to us evolving and kind of growing in this too. We understand this is uncharted territories. This is not Q4. This is not emergency learning. There are going to be requirements and expectations for students, but there's also going to be requirements and expectations for our teachers and staff as well. We understand we're not going to hit the ground running at 100%, right? And as a growth mindset school, we need to continually look at the systems that we're employing and the success of our students as a continual cycle of growth and development of these students. And I can guarantee that the swath in achievement of the students that we're going to receive in the fall is going to be greater than anything we've ever, happened in education at this point, because you have some students who disengaged in March, and you have some students who happily worked throughout the summer and are ready to go. And we are ready for that. We're ready to create those relationships with those students, and then we're ready to assess where those students are and understand where we need to take them. So it's a continual cycle.
Thank you, Sean.
Sure.
I also think that the board was going to want updates, so we would probably consider a standing agenda item for the first few months at least, if not ongoing, until this is calmed down. Okay, next up, and this will be our last question for this part. Again, you'll have time at the end. Katie Selfridge.
Hi, thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you guys taking our comments here. I actually just wanted to reiterate Michelle Ford's comment about Zoom. As a teacher, I have found that it is far more user-friendly. And I certainly understand that Google is planning on doing some updates, but it's so much better. All the classes that I was able to run with Zoom, the kids and, well, we were all able to really communicate a lot more clearly, and obviously we're using it as a board platform as well. So it just seems like it is a far more user-friendly platform. And so it's not a question, just a comment, and just to sort of, you know, re-emphasize that earlier point. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes.
If you'd like, I can ask Mr. Mejia to speak up regarding Zoom. He had prepared to do so in the event that it was needed.
Yes, please. I actually wrote that down. So if now is a good time, that'd be great. Or we can ask him in a few minutes.
Okay.
Up to you.
I think he's prepared. So let's see if he wants to chime in.
Okay.
Hi. So one of the things we have found is that, like it's been mentioned, Zoom is working very well. Obviously, we're using it for our large scale meetings, town halls and board meetings. I do not believe that outside of all the security issues that they had initially, we are not saying that we are against Zoom. What we are doing is hoping to continue to use Meet because of all the features that they're rolling out, more teacher controls for classrooms, more the ability to do breakout rooms. They even have an integrated attendance portion of it being rolled out as well. Now, as of right now, those features are not rolled out. So what we have decided is if by the first week of August, those features are not rolled out yet, we will just buy a district-wide use and implement district-wide use of Zoom for that.
Okay, that's good to know. I was also gonna just make a comment too that in one of our previous discussions somewhere down the line, we talked about being consistent also through the school districts or the sites rather of what we use. So we want to keep that in consideration as well, but we also don't want to add difficulty to where it's already difficult. So thank you for that update, and we'll hear where we're at with that when we get to that point. Thank you, Mr. Mejia. Okay, Dr. Porras, back to you.
Very good. Thank you, Madam President. And I think we're ready to now go to, did the board want to, we had prepared some thoughts around food service and I had received some questions previously. So while it's not a site schedule, I don't know if you wanted to hear a couple of just quick updates regarding food service since the school year is going to be picking up.
Sure.
Okay. I'll ask Director Lip to go ahead and jump in, and I think it'll be a pretty quick item.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, Stephanie Lip, Nutrition Director. So now that everything's kind of been a little settled on school start dates and moving to distance learning, where it's kind of good for us to be able to kind of start operating the way that we kind of were when schools initially closed in March. So in those 3 months, we learned a lot just in how to operate more streamlined and more efficiently, doing the curbside pickup and the outdoor meal service. So at the start of this school year, the difference is that we're not going to be able to serve the community, anyone aged 18 and under, for free. It's going to be moving back to the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program, where we do have to charge according to the free, reduced, and paid status of the student's account. So the things that do remain the same are that parents can still come and pick up the meals, but they do have to provide either the student lunch number or their student ID number. And if they don't have that handy, then we can write down the student name and last name. And then the account will be charged afterwards. So we'll be sending out communication to the households about that and about prepaying accounts so that we're not handling any cash transactions or anything like that. Let's see. Okay, so we also, after seeing the different bell schedules, I'm thinking 12 to 12:45 or somewhere around that time. I think right now high school is 11:30 to 12:30 and middle school is 12:45 to 1:20. So maybe we'll extend that to 11:45 to 12:45 for a pickup. And originally we were doing the 3 sites, Robert Down, the high school, and Arkwright Court. And I'm expecting that our counts are going to drop just because it's not going to be open for everyone for free. So we're thinking of just doing the high school and Arkwright Court first. And if we need to expand on that, we can. We tended to get more participation at the high school, and then Arkwright was kind of just well situated in that space where students were able to walk if they didn't have transportation to get to the other sites. And yeah, we're looking to operate a 3-day service. Again, it's same thing as how we started in March, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, where Wednesday we can pack Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday's meal. And that'll, again, just minimize exposure and also allow us to do more prepared food that we can make on our own, like when we did the sandwiches and salads and the protein boxes. We might even look into doing, at the middle school, we did a fajita bowl, and we can look into doing something like that where we can pack that and they can reheat it at home. So yeah, we just want to be able to up the quality of our food. I think that's all I have.
Great. Thank you for that. Is basically, as far as the validation and the paying is just like you would be at school, except for it's curbside.
Yeah. Okay. And that parents can pick it up.
Yeah. Okay, great. Hopefully the construction is done over in the Arkwright area, because that's been pretty crazy the last few weeks. So, and we have a couple weeks still before that, but just kind of keep that in mind, that construction might be a barrier. Okay. And I'll go ahead and bring it to the board if you have any questions. I do see John's hand is up. Go ahead, John.
Well, you can go in any order you want. I just wanted to make sure we were doing it. I just wanted to, Ms. Lips, how has July looked? Do you have any feedback? We're now at the 23rd, how that program has gone?
Yeah, right now all the vouchers have been kept at the restaurants, and from talking to them, it seems like it's been a hit. I think people are really utilizing the program and are really taking advantage of the amount of vouchers that they received. We gave out about between 270 and 280 students received vouchers.
Okay. So that's a little down from what we were serving in the spring, but a very solid number and kind of, I think, where we thought we'd be. So thank you very much for the update.
Christy, do you have any questions?
No, I don't at this time. Thanks for the presentation, Stephanie.
Brian?
Just, I'm unclear about the locations again. Could you just, did you say you narrowed it down to 2 locations, or it will be?
I think we're going to start at the high school and Arkwright.
Okay. Okay. And just see how that goes. I would imagine if people are saying, look, we can't get, because I know it's a pretty small town that we live in, but for some folks, if you're down by the beach or whatever, it could be a problem. But I know you guys are listening and will assess the needs as they're presented. Thank you.
John Walton, anything?
No questions. Just want to, continue to thank you, Director Lip, for doing this. I always say it's always enlightening to me all the other important things we do as a school district, aside from the core educational pieces, and really appreciate what you're doing for the families and students out there.
Great. Thank you, John. I don't see any hands up. So thank you, Dr. Lip, for that update. And back to you, Dr. Porras.
Thank you, Madam President. I think the last one I'm not necessarily going to put a slide up for, but I just wanted to make a couple comments and then invite Director Kelly from Facilities and Maintenance if he wanted to add anything. There had been some comments and questions in regards to how we are progressing with the preparation of our sites for the time when our students may return, and our staff as well. And I just wanted to assure folks that also with Nurse Powley, we've been ordering lots of materials, PPEs, other mitigation materials, all the way back since May. We have been receiving a pretty good steady stream of these personal protection devices and equipment. And so we feel like we're doing a great job in getting all of those protective pieces in play for when our students do return. Also just making the classrooms and the buildings more safe for staff as well. Again, we have been updating the operational plan that has been on the website for a while. And that operation plan really highlights a lot of the mitigation procedures. And I think we've done a really good job. Just kudos to Director Kelly and his crew on the work that they have been dealing with. And I think we've ordered everything we can order that is available for us. And so I just wanted to give Director Kelly just a moment to add anything that he feels is important for you all to know in regards to our progress thus far.
Are there slides there for that?
No, not necessarily. I can bring to the facility slides, but I didn't plan to necessarily show them.
That's okay. Maybe we can go back to the call it the Brady Bunch view.
Oh, very good.
Where, instead of the sharing your screen.
Okay, very good.
Great.
Good evening, Matt Kelly, Director of Facilities and Transportation. Just really quickly, we've put up a majority of the plexiglass barriers that we said we were going to put in, and working with some of the counselors too. They're requesting some barriers as well for some of the testing they have to do for SPED. So we're installing those and getting them out, some disinfection. The water, the hand washing stations, we're still manufacturing those, and we're going to install them in some of the areas where they're indoors and protected, but we're going to hold off on installing the ones that are going to be on the outdoors for now, so they don't have any vandalism. When we do go back to school, take us maybe a day or so to install those. We're still on track to get air filters in. I'm still putting those in. So we're moving ahead with the plan as far as we can go, and we'll be ready for when we decide to go back to school. I do have hopefully one promising thing coming up where I'll probably report back to the board on some it's an older technology on disinfection, but I think it's really going to have help us with some AM PM schedules and cleaning or disinfecting between those schedules. So we hope to roll out some testing on it in the next couple of weeks, and then again I can report back to you guys on if it was successful or not. And I think that's about it.
Great, thank you. Did you what is the status on the machines that you spoke about last time?
Oh yeah, still the same. We're still should be they're still on target to come the middle of August, and we still have our touchless hand sanitizing still probably won't be here until November, but we do have hand sanitizer available just in the bottle form for when staff and students come back. Just the touch list won't be here for a little bit longer.
Okay. And the shields, the barrier shields, those are for the like the one-on-one teaching, as well as what other areas did we install those?
We're mainly installing them in areas where a staff personnel is more stationary than moving around like you would see in a teaching environment. So a lot of in the front offices, a lot in counseling areas where they have the one-on-one contact and they're stationary, and in conference rooms and in testing rooms.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll just go to the board to see if there's any additional questions. Christy?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. John Path?
No, thank you very much for the update.
Okay. Brian?
I don't have any, thank you.
John Walton?
Nothing for me.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Director Kelly, for that update.
Thank you.
Dr. Porras, back to you.
Okay, and I'm going to wrap it up here. I just want to, I'm going to share the screen one more time real briefly here. I just want to make sure that the public is aware. This is a screenshot of our website, and it's on the page that reads reopening plans, and it's across the menu that comes on the top of the banners. And we just, thanks to Director Binder, we did a little remodeling of this page to make it a little bit easier to kind of track down some of the documents that we feel are most critical to what we're doing currently. And as you'll note, that we now have separated it out into full distance learning mode, blended and hybrid learning models, and then our general reopening plans and operations. We'll be updating this in the next couple of days as well. We're just kind of scrambled some plans around. But I think the idea is pretty clear for folks that would like to see the information on distance learning models that we currently have revised. You can look in that model. And if you were looking for the operation reopening plan or the academic reopening plan, they'd be over on there as well. And I just wanted to make sure people saw that the website has been changed a little, and just makes it a little bit easier to get around and find what you need to find. And at that, I'll go ahead and pass it back to the board for possible action on the two distance learning plans.
Okay. Before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and open up public comment for, well, about 20 minutes is our normal. So if we need to go beyond that, we can, up to 30 minutes. And then I will come back to the board again for further discussion if needed. So we'll go ahead and open up public comment on this is on everything you've heard so far, the high school, the middle school, any other questions that you might have. Up first is Lisa Thomas.
Hi, this is actually her husband, Steve. Just a quick question in regards to the elementary school, both the elementary schools and what their plans are. I don't think that that's been discussed at the board level, and is that something that's coming up, or
it is? Yeah.
At a different meeting?
No, you may, in the beginning of the meeting, we added that to this agenda. So it will be, as soon as we're done with this item for the high school and the middle school, we'll be just getting a presentation on the elementaries.
Thanks very much. If people joined late, they might not have understood that. So thank you very much for clarifying that for everyone.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Okay, next up is Julie.
Hi, I had a question, clarification on the high school schedule.
Go ahead.
This is the first time I realized it, and I thank you, Mr. Garcia, for all your explanations, meetings, and patience on this. I really appreciate it. This is the first time I realized that it looks like first quarter would be periods 1, 2, 4, 6, and then second would be 3, 5, 7, and then it goes on to third, and then does it repeat 2, 4, and 6?
He needs to be unmuted. Jonathan, he can't speak there.
I just...
Here we go. So yes, I just showed you the first 3 quarters. And if we were to stay in this model through the entire school year, we would alternate. So odd first, then even, odd, then even. Take us all the way through the end of the school year. Again, if we were required to stay with the distance learning and or hybrid.
So are there 4 or 3?
There'd be 4 total. I just didn't take it all the way out.
Oh,
To
God.
the end of the school
Okay.
year.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Next up is Carolyn Swanson.
Hi, thank you, President Crandall. I have a question. I guess it might be for Matt Kelly. So I know that we had our huge bond measure pass for facilities and maintenance. I'm naive on how some of that works. I was wondering if that money can be used for any of the potential upgrades that we need to do for COVID, and not necessarily like specifics like putting in a hand sanitizer bay, but things like maybe upgrading the HVAC system so that we can actually have the highest level of filters. Or and then part 2 of my question is, because the schools are going to be kind of empty, although I realize it's also kind of unknown when kids are coming back, so it's tricky. But are we going to be doing any maintenance or facilities work to try to maximize that time when the classrooms don't have kids in them? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, are you there still? Oh, maybe I need to unmute him also.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I probably should have hit on that in my update. So for the first question, the bond, the bond money doesn't come available until this spring. So as far as using that money and implementing like HVAC control or HVAC and stuff like that, we wouldn't be able to do that until starting in spring or summer of next year. Yeah, we do have now we do have projects planned to do. We'll probably go into more of a summer routine once we get done with the COVID upgrades, because the majority of the summer was spent doing COVID stuff. So we'll actually, some of the guys have already started doing cleaning out gutters and stuff like that, and we'll move into a couple grounds projects that we would like to get done. And yeah, so we're going to go into project mode for the next couple months until we come back.
Great. And also the bond, I don't believe we get any withdrawal from that for a couple more months.
Yeah, spring or summer, we'll start seeing the first money, the first phase of that money.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any additional hands up right now, but we'll go ahead and pause just for a little few seconds here. If anybody has any other comments or questions regarding what has been presented so far. As mentioned, we will be talking about the elementary schools next. So we are going to be voting on the high school and the middle school. So we'll just give a couple seconds for any additional questions. Okay, Carolyn Swanson.
Hello again. I have another question. So I was wondering if Director Davies or someone else could speak to what special education services will look like for the middle school and the high school. And I'm asking not to really hear that, you know, that everything's just going to be taken care of, but like I kind of at this point would like to know some more details. Maybe even give an example of a day in the life of a kid with an IEP, how that's going to work out.
Great, that's a great question. Dr. Porras, I'm not sure that, are we prepared to answer that tonight?
I think we can probably try to get something out, either direct response to Ms. Swanson via email. We were not prepared to answer questions directly to the other programs at this point. But certainly if Director Davies would like to say something, certainly welcome to do so, but no expectation at this point.
Okay.
We were not prepared.
Go ahead, Director Davies.
Okay, Am I unmuted? Yes. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all.
Hi.
We've been through quite the journey over the last couple of months, developing all the different renditions of schedules for the campuses. And as you know, that's the overarching structure of our school programs. And special education is one of the intervention programs that's part of the overall structure. So for our students that are resource students, which is the great majority, resource students are considered general ed students. So they will follow general ed schedule and they will receive their specialized academic, they will receive their learning center just as they had in the spring that is on their schedule. Our mild moderate students at middle school and high school are also on schedules. So they will also follow their schedule, just as the general ed students. And for our highly specialized classrooms, we are going to be in distance learning. We had a fantastic summer school program. We continue to work on improving it. And we will start the year with that. And we will move forward and follow the overall structure of general ed for the specialized classes as well. Our therapies will most likely, we know for a fact we will start with virtual therapy. And when we come back in the hybrid model, our anticipation is that it would be most safe if we also continue therapies virtually. So those are our plans to date, and we'll continue to work together as a team to work out those fine points.
Great, thank you. If there's any further questions, I just would recommend emailing directly with your specific questions. Thank you, Director Davies.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, and this may be the last one for now, Erica Chavez.
Just a quick question. It took me a little bit to process because I'm not used to looking at middle school schedules, but I do have a middle schooler coming in, and it probably wouldn't apply to us, but if I'm looking at the schedule Tuesday through Friday, the students are in synchronous learning experiences till 12:35, but lunches stopped serving by 12:45. So would that give students enough time to walk to the high school and Arkwright to receive their lunches if they're supposed to be in a synchronous class until 12:35?
Don? See, I keep forgetting I have to unmute these people.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Rhodes.
Actually, I was just going to say thank you very much. We forwarded our schedule to Director Lip, I believe, the latter portion of Monday. And at that time, she said we need to kind of work out all the schedules. So I think she's still kind of compiling windows for lunch at that time. But I'll defer to Director Lip on that one.
Yeah, now that I have all of the schedules, yeah, I see how that's gonna pose a problem. Yeah, we'll have to look into shifting the schedule again. We're just gonna have to look into shifting that schedule or extending it, and then staggering people if need be. At this point, we do have enough staff on hand, and then if we're operating the Monday through Wednesday, we'll have that time to still be there to serve if we need to.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, I'm seeing no other public comment this time, so I'm bringing it back to the board. And if there's any additional questions, we'll just go down the line real quick. Christy?
Yeah, no additional questions right now.
Okay. John Path?
I'm good, thank you.
Brian?
All good here, thank you.
John Walton?
Nothing from me.
Okay. Okay, board, do I have a motion to
Make a motion to accept the middle school and high school schedules as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the schedules as presented by John Path, second by Christy Dawson. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Crandall,
Aye.
Trustee Dawson,
Aye.
Trustee Path,
Aye.
Trustee Swanson,
Aye.
Trustee Walton.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all your hard work, everybody. And okay, that is approved 5-0. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on now to our additional item that we added for the elementary distance learning plans. Dr. Porras, are you starting that off or?
Yeah, I'm just getting the screen set to go here and giving that little bit of lag time so Principal Rogeman and Principal Keller can get up to the forefront here. And I do want to just make an introductory note that everything has been a really work in motion, and I want to just acknowledge greatly so the work of our elementary staff. The collaboration between Robert Down and Forest Grove has been just phenomenal, and really just a lot of good conversations, a lot of good ideas, really some heavy duty processing in terms of what the implementation of distance learning will look like. And everyone has been very open to suggestions and to better ways to do something. And I just want to applaud them. I really cannot do that enough. It's been a bit of a slog because there's a lot of work to do. And I think they've been working 6 hours a day, every day. And so we were just able to get these plans, I think, to where you see them right now together for you today, just a few hours ago. And I think what you'll see is a general presentation of what we're looking at for the elementary. And then really important to note that there will be some more refinement going as each grade level takes a look at their own grade level responsibilities and begins to fine tune this general schedule to fit those particular needs. So with that acknowledgement, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for the elementary distance learning and then ask Principals Rogeman and Keller to jump on in.
Thank you very much, Dr. Porras. I just want to echo some of the words that you said and also give the trustees and the public just a glimpse into some of the planning that we have done this week. We have 5 days of planning that we've done, and the first day we set the pacing guide for the year for both English language arts and math. And so our teachers were looking at the state standards and the units for both math and language arts and mapping out when we were going to teach those items, especially for this first stretch that we're going to be in distance learning mode. And then the next day, what we did was we started to review the upgrades to the SWAN math program, as well as our benchmark and super kids English language arts programs, and trying to look at the online resources that would be available and how we might be able to use those. On that same day, we also look at the supplementary, technical applications that each grade level would also want to use. At that time, the grade levels also were able to give us the feedback, what kind of professional development might be needed in support of our teachers so we could use those with our students. Wednesday is when we took a look at the daily instructional day. And so each of the grade levels built a model day, and we're not going to go through every single one because just like you said, Dr. Porras, they are very specific with specified times for live instruction, for English language arts and math, for live small group support, for live office hours, as well as recorded instruction that could also happen throughout the day, as well as independent student work. So there's a combination of all those things that are incorporated to each of the individual plans that our grade levels have developed. One of the most exciting aspects of this is that really for the first time, our district is going to have an aligned program where if you're in first grade at Robert Down, you're going to be studying the same material in a lot the same way if you're a first grader at Forest Grove. Our teachers have been open to this alignment. They understand the importance for our families as they assist each other at times with this online learning. And so this alignment and the conversation that we've had to come to this alignment has been positive to the point of being inspiring for both me and Mr. Keller and Ani Silva to be a part of. In the afternoon on Wednesday, we built a weekly plan, so we would see kind of what that weekly instructional format would look like. So then on Thursday, we knew that when our students came to us, that we'd have to find a way to understand what they knew so that we could strategically approach how to fill the gaps that they might have in their learning from the previous year. So our grade levels in the morning, I identified those initial assessments that we're going to give to our students. And then in the afternoon, they started looking at the ongoing assessments, not only the tests that we might be giving, but also how those tests are going to be given. As it's been mentioned earlier in this pre-presentation, our students will be graded in the first, second, and third trimesters, just as we have in the past. So our teachers were talking about the best ways to come up with an assessment plan. We also know that our students are going to need to attend class and be held accountable that way. And so what our teachers are doing, and our classified staff that are attending these planning sessions, is they're working very hard to make sure that we hold up our end to build this robust, engaging distance learning plan for our students. Tomorrow, we're going to finish up by looking at strategies that we can use for some of the students that might be falling through the cracks as we go to start this distance learning plan. And then we're also going to start to focus on the social emotional learning aspect of distance learning. Our number one priority when building the distance learning program was to make sure that we were taking care of the social emotional learning needs of our students, in addition to teaching them how to read, write, and do math. So Dr. Porras, with that kind of preamble, can you please put up the weekly schedule? So the weekly schedule is going to be similar to the high school and the middle school, in that Monday is going to be a day that is reserved for teacher planning and preparation with asynchronous or independent exercises for our students to do. Now, the governor came out with an order asking that there was live instruction every day. And our elementary team felt that that could best be served by maintaining that Monday morning meeting, that beginning of the day morning meeting that we're going to have throughout the week and every day of instruction. So at that point, our teachers will be able to go over the day's plan and explain to our students what they will be doing. And so then the rest of that day, our teachers are going to be able to plan together in order to build the instructional program, either for this week or the following week, whatever they're working on. One of the most exciting things about the planning that we've done is that we've kind of kicked down any wall that may have existed between our staffs at Robert Down and Forest Grove. So we really see these Mondays as being an important linchpin in this planning continuing throughout the school year. It would be one thing for us to build a cohesive, aligned plan for a couple weeks. But if our teachers aren't allowed to continue meeting and working together, it would be impossible to maintain that plan. So we're excited to have those Mondays to work with our colleagues at Robert Down and to continue this truly unified approach across the grade levels. You'll see that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday call for synchronous and asynchronous learning. As I joked with our teachers, those might be my two least favorite words that have come out of this distance learning movement. Synchronous simply means it's going to be live instruction. And asynchronous learning means it's going to be independent instruction, some of it with recorded assistance. Dr. Porras, if you can transfer to the next slide. This will give an overview of what a general instructional day looks like. Now, one thing I want to emphasize is just like our colleagues at the middle school and the high school, Principal Keller and myself are going to hold a town hall on Tuesday, get out your pens, on Tuesday, July 28th, beginning at 5:30 and lasting until 7 o'clock, where we will give the specific daily plan for each grade level. And then we'll have about an hour where we'll field questions, feedback, comments, and input. We think that by having this town hall on Tuesday, that would still allow us to make any adjustments to the instructional plan that we've built so that we can implement those changes during the professional development days that have been established for that week of August 3rd through the 7th. So as we look at the daily instructional model for Tuesday through Friday, you will see that we listed various end times. And kindergarten through second grade, that second grade time at 2:30 is an error. Second grade is actually going to end at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. K through 2 are going to start their day at 8:45 and then end at 2. Grades 3 through 5 are going to extend through the normal ending time of 3:10 in the afternoon. Our morning, the emphasis is going to be on our math and English language arts instruction, just like it is in a typical day at our school. Although I will say that the live content for instruction for math, English language arts is also going to have embedded science and social studies aspects to it. Each of the grade levels is deciding the best way for them to handle science and social studies to make sure that the curriculum for our students remains well-rounded. So if you look at the synchronous instruction, there's going to be a daily morning meeting that will include social emotional checks with our children. One of the great aspects of Forest Grove adopting the toolbox last year is that the toolbox character development program had already been in place at Robert Down. So as our teachers are talking about social emotional development across the grade level, we have a common, well, tool that we can use for those conversations with our students. We will continue things like mindful moments that our students are going to be able to have access to. And then other live content is going to include instruction for math and English language arts in various formats. There will be whole group instruction for a teacher to give that initial instruction in a concept. And then the teacher is also going to be able to break out and work in small groups with students, while other students are working independently. And then teachers are also going to make themselves available for individual instruction for the students that might require a little more intensive assistance. The asynchronous instruction is going to have activities like independent practice after the initial instruction. And that's really students giving a chance to use the skill that they've learned from their teacher. There will also be recorded lessons as well as application-based practice. Both of our schools have purchased IXL, which is really an academic practice tool that is programmed at a student's ability level, where they can practice math concepts and our math standards that have been taught in class. And we also have an English language arts component to the program as well. We're also going to have intervention for our students in need in that asynchronous instruction as well, that will have some intervention exercises and programs. And then that will also give our intervention specialists time to work with our students. And that would actually be synchronous as opposed to asynchronous learning. Dr. Porce, I believe we have an afternoon as well. So from 1 o'clock until the time students are dismissed, we also have in our plan additional intervention for students. We understand that students are going to have some gaps in their learning. So one of the things I've been really impressed to see is our teachers are conscious of that, and they've built that into their instructional programs at every one of the grade levels. When you see office hours, those aren't the kind of office hours that we went to when we were in college. This is when a teacher is going to open up a gap of time within the day, so any student or family that might be struggling with a concept can drop in and get some additional instruction. Music will take place largely in the afternoon, although there will be some music instruction that occurs during the day. It is going to be a combination of a recorded lesson in terms of choral music, as well as a couple of times a week having a voluntary live music session with Mr. Mazer. PE is going to do a similar combination of recorded and live instruction. And then we also have room for library time. Digital learning is really the kinds of computer programming lessons that Mr. Andrew Bradley had been coming onto our campuses to teach in order to address the California technical education standards. And then we're also working to develop a GATE program that is going to run after school. So that kind of gives a nice overview of what our model instructional week is going to look like, as well as our model instructional day. Once again, I want to remind everyone that we're going to have an elementary town hall that is going to take place Tuesday, July 28th from 5:30 to 7. We're going to be seeking out parent feedback and input based on these models that have been developed through some difficult but really truly enjoyable work that's gone on with our staffs. Principal Keller, I'm going to turn it over to you in case you have anything to add.
You know, Mr. Rogan, you did such a wonderful job of explaining all those details. I would just like to reemphasize how gracious and thankful I am to both of our staffs for working so closely together. We still have one more day left tomorrow, and of course throughout the entire year, to make sure that we're running a synchronous program at both of our schools. So again, thank you so much.
Dr. Porce, we might let them go a little bit early in the afternoon after the week that they've put in, if that's okay.
I think that would be quite fine, Mr. Rogan.
Okay, so is that the end, or?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to go to the board for questions, and then we'll open it up for public comment as well. You can raise your hand anytime. You'll stay in the queue. Okay, we're going to go to the board. Christy?
Yeah, I think something in this district that we're always looking at, and is, I think, a real linchpin for us, is equity. It delights me beyond words that both elementary schools are not working separately with parents anxious about who's doing this better or how's this going. The fact that you're working together absolutely delights me. So I really appreciate all those efforts. I think everybody at both schools and the entire community will benefit from what you're doing. So thank you so much.
Christy. John Path?
So I'd like to echo what Christy said there. You know, I've been on the board for a long time and have been a firm supporter of trying to get the two elementaries closer aligned. And thank you to the teachers for saying, you know, this is the opportunity that we need. Let us push forward. And I'm excited that you're saying these sessions will go on throughout the year, no matter what. I also think the schedule you put together looks to be academically rigorous to the point where we need it. I find it interesting that you've already said, you know, we think that we're going to hold K through 2 a little bit less just at the outset. You know, we have to make it a little age appropriate. So there's clearly a lot of thought put into this, and I appreciate those efforts. That said, I guess in the end, I'm interested in the public comments that we have. This is the first time this has been presented, and I'd like to understand where the parents lie on it.
Brian?
Mostly just to echo what John and Christy said. It's really great to see both schools working together like that. It's a great opportunity to do so and to continue to do so as we move through this and past this. So I want to just take my hat off to everybody that was involved, and also to, I know it's been said by others before, but to just acknowledge the tremendous amount of work that I know has gone into putting this together. I know it has not been easy, and it's greatly appreciated though. So thank you to everybody that's been involved with that.
Thank you, Brian. John Walton?
Thanks, Debbie. Yeah, it's great to see the schools working together. I think that's, you know, I'm newer to the board, but even in my short time, it's felt like there was such an opportunity there to get the teachers from the same classes together and talk about similar programs across the schools. It really, I guess, a good thing coming out of a bad situation. It's really good to see that. You know, as a parent of a former elementary school student now, I'll say, you know, if I was a parent, I would just be frustrated though, because it feels like we're behind on the elementary schools from the town halls and the parent input piece. So like John Paff said, I know this just popped up on the agenda as a sort of walk-on item. In a sense, we added it at the last minute, but I hope some of the elementary school parents feel comfortable providing some comment because, the ideal way in my mind would have been more like the other schools where we would have had the opportunity to have more town halls and get more parental input. On the other hand, we have a very short amount of time left before the school year starts. And I feel like we really owe it to the teachers to give them some guidance now so they have time to prepare for when school starts. So it's kind of a tough situation, but really value any public input we get tonight.
Great, thank you, John. Yeah, I agree. I mean, for those who were not present at the very beginning of the meeting when we added this to the agenda, we had a discussion about are we going to be approving this or not because of the town hall meeting being after. So as John Walton's just said, we really feel time-wise we need to provide some sort of guidance. And I just want the public to know that if there are changes for some reason that need to be approved by the board, we are all prepared to have a special meeting to do that if needed. So with that said, I did have one question, and it may just be that I didn't hear it correctly. On, I think the next slide, there's talk about the group instruction. And maybe you don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but can you, Principal Keller or Brogerman, touch on that a little bit?
Sure. One of the common practices in both of our schools is for our teachers to pull small groups after they give their initial instruction, and it gives them a chance to explain in a more intimate manner, the concepts that are being taught. One of the other things that has come out of the work that we've done in our virtual teaching academy, and also with our experience from working in the spring, is that teachers felt that they were very effective in their instructional practice when they could have a smaller group of students that they were meeting with when they were explaining some of the more difficult concepts. So much like in our training, we have gone from a whole group where we have about 28 teachers and classified staff present to breaking out into grade level rooms where we have more like 3 to 5 to 6 people present. And so it gives you a chance to work in a large format as in terms of whole group instruction. And then it also gives teachers a chance to target their instruction to smaller groups of students.
So thank you. So when they're doing that online, I'm just trying to picture how that's going to work. If they're in a smaller group, what are the other students doing?
So there'll be independent practice. And typically, if you think back to, third or fourth grade, right, the teacher would do an initial instruction, and then the teacher would maybe work a problem with the students. It would be like guided instruction. And then when the teacher is confident that the class is ready to work on their own, then they would have independent practice. And then that would provide an opportunity for the teacher while the other students are doing independent practice to be able to pull a small group in.
Okay.
In addition, President Crandall, this is where the breakout rooms are really important. I know several of my teachers, while Zoom was being used at the earlier times in the spring, they were utilizing the breakout rooms in Zoom with their instructional assistants, possibly a parent volunteer, and retiring teachers that were coming back to help. And they were breaking out and really providing that intervention that students need.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much for explaining that more. Okay. I am going to go to public comment now. We have some hands up. So we're going to do 20 minutes and see how it looks after that. So we'll go ahead and start with Jeannie.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi. Thank you guys so much for taking the time. I see how much effort and attention you're giving to our students, and it's just so valuable. I would just like to say one comment and then one question. As someone who's been on the parent advisory task force for the elementary schools, I would love it if the board could wait until we have the town hall meeting before making a decision, given how little impact I'm just seeing this for the first time right now. And I know there's other parents who I've been communicating with very frequently over the last few months who would love to know this information and have some time to think about it and ask their questions. But that would be my only comment. And the question I have is just, Principal Roach gave a great percentage, saying that 2/3 of the 240 required instructional minutes by the state would be allocated in the junior high, but I'm not seeing that or hearing that information in the elementary school plan. And it would be helpful as a parent to imagine how many hours my child is going to be actually on the screen versus doing work on their workbook or handwriting things. And that would be really helpful. So if someone could just let me know a percentage. Are we thinking 240 minutes? All of that is going to be synchronous or asynchronous? If you could break it down, it would be really helpful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Rogoman, I don't know if you're prepared to answer that tonight, or is that we can put that aside for the town hall?
President Crandall, I think that what our staff can help us do is to put that information on the daily plans that we'll be doing per grade level when we have the town hall meeting on Tuesday, so that we can add how much of the instruction is going to be live, how much is going to be more like pencil to paper work and exercises that the students will be doing. So it's going to be a mix between a computer interface as well as people using books and paper and workbooks just like we normally do. So we'll have our folks work those into the daily schedules that they've built for us.
Great, thank you. Okay, next up is Grace.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So I am a parent at Forest Grove, and I have an incoming kindergartner and an incoming first grader. I have a lot of concerns, and one of the board members that spoke last, I can't remember his name, he said he was newer. He mentioned that he would assume that some of the parents would be feeling kind of frustrated. I've attended all the board meetings since, we were kind of moving toward a hybrid model. And I feel like there has been definitely, like, the ball was dropped, with how elementary schools were handled. Every meeting I was kind of feeling like frustrated. Well, what does that mean for elementary level? And so I definitely feel like we're left at the very end trying to figure out how this is going to play out, whether or not we have the right equipment, whether or not we're in a situation where this is going to work for us and our family. And now we're at last minute thinking, what are we going to do? So I definitely feel very frustrated as a parent of two little ones that are very reliant on me as a parent. When they're not in school, they're very reliant on their teachers. And when they're home, they're very reliant. I mean, they're just barely learning the foundations of school. They're learning foundations just in life. These are the most foundational forming times in a child's life. And this is where they're barely entering into school, learning how to do school, the routine, how to use a computer, how to, we have an emergent reader, an emergent writer, kids who are just learning how basic functions of school, how to form a line, and my kids have had some preschool, so I feel like they know a lot of this already, but they need the reinforcement and the constant contact that they tend to get in school. And so with COVID, I understand the contact is stopped, and there obviously changes need to be made. But as parents, my husband and I are both essential workers, and my husband's in law enforcement and I'm a therapist, and so we are in our fields, we haven't stopped working. So we have a lot of fears, as the teachers in previous board meetings have shared, the testimonies of teachers saying, oh, well, we're scared, about what we could bring home to our families and how this is going to impact us and what we may contract. We face those fears on a daily. And so one of the things that I feel the district has dropped the ball on and didn't do a very good job was on talking about the impact that this has had on essential working families, and not just essential working families. You may not be in an essential working role, but out of survival and livelihood as a parent, maybe you're a single parent, maybe you're a guardian, maybe you're someone who, you know, is coming from financially a very challenging place. It's very expensive to live here. And I think that, you know, that's the other, to me, the meetings have felt like there's kind of this privileged perspective where the district's like, oh yeah, parents will be able to figure it out, but not everybody is in that boat. Financially, not everybody is in that boat. And I know, for speaking just for my own family, we're not sure how we're going to make this work. And I'm looking at having to quit a job so that I can be there for our kids, because I don't know what else we can do. We don't have any family support. And the other thing that that just worries me in general is just how that may impact not families like mine, because we can make do, we will make it work. But I'm thinking about the families, you know, of parents who maybe only have one parent, or a monolingual speaking family, and how they may navigate that because maybe resources are limited, and you know, children who have special needs. And so I just feel like there's so many different questions that come up for me, and I have worries. And I do have just a couple of questions. So that's just me throwing my concerns.
Yeah, Ms. Brown, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand again, because I do need to get to other people here, unless you have just a direct question.
Yeah, I just have a direct question.
Okay, go ahead.
So my question is to the district, is whether or not you guys have considered the single exception waiver for the elementary levels to reopen in person, coming from the website of California government. Governor Newsom put out his statement and the reopening plans, and he's saying that a superintendent can request a waiver to open elementary school levels. And then if we're looking at maybe that as an option, if that's even an option, what, because the other thing that's being looked at are in families across the peninsula are pods, microschooling. Has the district considered doing that within their own settings that might be a little bit more safe for families that are considering this and, you know, trying to keep slowing the spread? Schools have more resources than families individually do. So I'd like to know about pods, microschooling options. It's good that you're streamlining both schools so that parents who are looking at microschooling can do that, whether they're in either elementary. So I'm happy to hear about that. But overall, those are my questions.
Okay, so regarding the waiver, Dr. Porras, I am sorry, I have not heard of that. So I feel like I would have heard about that. Do you know, can you speak on that?
I can. That's part of the extension of SB 98. No, at this time, the district is not considering it based on the safety conditions and the input that we received from parents, just in regards to the concerns of the cases increasing in our county. As far as I am aware, having conversed with the other superintendents in the county, there are no districts that are considering that waiver and to try to meet the conditions detailed therein.
Okay, thank you. I would just say too that the district has been very worried about this for a long time. We're all affected by it personally as well. So we do empathize with everybody, and we're doing the best we can. If you have personal needs, just please email your principal, and so you can make sure that your voice is heard on that side.
Madam President, if I might, just as a point
yes,
of
go ahead, Dr. Porras.
I think it's important as a point of clarity. The direction by the governor to move us into a all distance learning format is very recent. Up to a couple of weeks ago, we were preparing for a hybrid schedule. And I do want to note in the academic reopening plans that we have been discussing for the last couple of months, the elementary sites were actually the first ones out the gate in regards to establishing hybrid plans, how that's going to look, what that's going to look like for parents, support, all of those pieces. And it wasn't only until a couple of weeks ago, literally, that the whole landscape changed I think the elementary plans were discussed early on and actually were working quite smoothly up until that shift came. And so the staff got together and began planning in earnest. So I think trying to adjust to the shift for the elementary has been difficult because the needs are so very different than the other grade levels.
Yeah.
That notwithstanding, I just wanted to mention that.
No, I agree. I appreciate you bringing that up because I also felt that we had a plan. We do have a plan for hybrid. And then it was actually just Friday, wasn't it? Friday that it's was changed. So as I have mentioned a couple times, I mean, we're not going to be able to make everyone happy with what we're doing, but we're doing our best and keeping the students and everybody involved, especially also the teachers. We have to consider their safety. So more about that at the town hall meeting on Tuesday. Okay, going to the next question is Carolyn Swanson.
Hi, good evening. Carolyn Swanson, PG parent. I have a whole list of questions. Okay, so I do think, so I've been participating in this whole process. I've been on the elementary task force reopening. We did have several meetings, and actually I think Dr. Porras is kind of correct that we kind of worked this out, and then because it got worked out so fast, then everything else came to the forefront and it just kind of sat there simmering. So I do feel like we are at a moment in time in our processing and planning where we can assist families a little bit more than we are in kind of reducing their angst and stress. If we can give us, I mean, I'm a parent of a kid at Forest Grove. If you can give us a little bit more, like I think it was Jeannie Treback saying, a little bit more of a window into what our days will look like. I know we're going to have that town hall next week, but tonight, just if we could find out maybe a timeline of when we're going to know which teacher our child is going to have and the classmates that they're going to have in it, just so we can wrap our heads around it and start talking to our babies about that. We can kind of create our days around that, so we can make the dominoes of everything else, all of our family obligations kind of fall into place because of it. And then I wanted to ask really quickly also, will there be small groups of kids on site? Are we making teachers come on site for that? How are we dealing with that? How are we qualifying who comes on, if anybody, to address certain needs of different kids? And also lastly, has there been any collaboration with our district and our city in possibly creating a regional enrichment center for, that's open to kids of families who are essential workers, where kids can go, they can bring their Chromebooks, get supervision, and kind of release some of the stress that's really weighing on our entire district of families? Thank you.
If I may, Madam President.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Questions.
Keller.
So first thing, Ms. Swanson, thank you so much for participating with our task force. I really appreciate your input. You're always looking out for families in Pacific Grove, and I really appreciate that. First thing with class placements, Mr. Rogman and I will be discussing this tomorrow. We're hoping to finalize that. We do want to speak with our staff. In normal times, families usually don't find out about class placement until the day before school, but we know these are not normal times. And we want to make sure that our teachers union is in agreement for when those class lists are put out to the public. So we are thinking of you, and I want you to know our teachers are thinking of you as well. And they're very excited about trying to think up ways of having opening ceremonies, if you will, or meet and greets with you, whether it be in front of Forest Grove or in front of Robert Down. So we are working on that. For small groups on site, Ms. Davies might be able to explain it better than I, but I know that special education students who do need to get testing will be invited to campus if families feel comfortable. And we are working on how that will look, whether it's inside the building or if we have some larger tents out on the grass area for just more of an open area. And we're also looking into how we're going to help students that need some heavy intervention in the same manner when we hire our new intervention teachers, which will be very soon, and how we're going to address that in a person-to-person if families feel comfortable. I want to make sure I'm answering all your questions. We have met with the city, and so far they've told us that they could work with up to 80 students per day. I would highly recommend that you contact the city. If you are an essential working family, let the city know. They basically told us that they're willing to work with us. They would have it at the community center behind Robert Down and at the teen center downtown off of Forest. But they need to hear from you as parents so they can make their hirings. They usually hire college-age students to fill those spots. And we discussed not using employees back and forth between our two entities. So please reach out to the city if that's something that you need.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Okay, we're going to go to the next question. I do want to mention too that we've acknowledged a couple times this this discussion is kind of the carriage before the horse, but it is what it is, and we're discussing it, and also on the town hall. So if you have a very specific question that you want to have direct communication before that town hall meeting, I would really ask you to consider emailing your principal as well. But on that, I'll go ahead. We have 3 questions in the queue. So next is Tina.
Hi, I just had a question for the principals regarding the synchronous learning. I'm just curious if it's going to be a general meeting time for all grade levels for that morning meeting or whatever the live instruction is, or is it going to be staggered? Because I just feel like if you have, say, a kindergartner and a first grader, or a TKer and a first grader, they might both need a lot of help managing that if they're meeting at the same time. So I'm just kind of curious as to what, a little more detail as to what the live schedule will be.
So the current plan is for those morning meetings will probably happen at about the same time. They will be with the individual classes, so it's not as though there's going to be a large school-wide meeting. But the plan is for the morning meetings, that initial instruction, to happen at about the same time. The school is K through 2. What we're trying to do is to make the interface with learning as simple as we possibly can. In kindergarten and first grade, the device is going to be a tablet. And then what we're also looking at is using Seesaw, which is a learning management system that works really well with our youngest learners in kindergarten through second grade, that we've purchased that. One of the things that we've heard about the people that use Seesaw is that very soon, even the youngest learners, our kindergarten and first grade students, will gain a level of independence because it's tablet-based and the interface is pretty simple for our students to use. So we're hoping to build into the plan tools that will create as much independence in the learners as possible, although we're realists. And we've had those kindergartners on our campus, you know, that first week of school. So we intend to provide not only support for our students, but also for our parents, that we're gonna work that into our plan as well, to have, you know, instructional periods for our parents, and also to continue parent support groups throughout the year, because we understand that it's a big job.
Thank you, Mr. Rogerman. Next up is Heloisa. Hope I'm saying your name correctly.
That's pretty good. Thank you.
Okay.
My question might be answered at a town hall, but so I just wanted to I just want to know, like, for parents that chose distance learning, now when the surveys were sent out a couple weeks ago, would their kids stay in the same classroom if throughout the school year we resume in-person schooling, as hard as I think that's going to happen? I don't think it will, but in case we move back to hybrid or to in-person learning, do the kids stay in the same classroom if they had picked distance learning, at the survey? But that can be answered at the town hall. You don't have to answer it now.
Well, that's definitely Mr. Rugerman, that's something definitely we discussed today, and we're going to discuss further tomorrow. That's the toughest thing for us to decide, whether to move forward with the placements that we created in the spring, or to go ahead and place the students that did indicate distance learning at this time, so there wouldn't be any kind of change during the year.
Right, and when Mr. Keller's talking about that, really the choice that we're looking at making is that within any grade level right now, based on the survey that we sent, it looks like we have enough students to create basically one distance learning only class per grade level, which means that one of the teachers would have to get pulled from the grade level to do distance learning only and would be in that class. And then the rest of the students that are across 3 classes would have to get dispersed into the remaining 2. So we're trying to decide whether we do that or whether we go with the original spring placements, and then in the event that we go to a hybrid program, then there might need to be some reshuffling of students. Both approaches have their advantages and disadvantages. The advantage to maintaining the spring class really comes out if we're able to maintain the same classes throughout the entire year. The advantage of building a distance learning only group now is that should we go to a hybrid program, we wouldn't have to shuffle teachers. So part of the reason why we're trying to build a program that is so aligned is that there is flexibility. If a student had to get moved from one class to the other, they will be basically on the same math lesson or English language arts lesson as they were in the other class. And if it's not the exact same one, it's going to be really, really close.
Thank you, Mr. Rugerman. And I'm guessing you'll talk more about that also on Tuesday, potentially. Okay, next up is Shannon McCarty.
I just wanted to give a comment. I am not on this distance learning planning committee that's been working this last week, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to our teachers in our district that have worked so hard and so tirelessly on this so huge unknown thing. And I think that the teachers have given up their summertime to really try to develop this plan, and I just so appreciate it as a teacher that is not developing that I feel like they're just from this one slideshow, I feel like they're doing an amazing job, and I'm pleased that both of our schools are going to be so well aligned.
Thank you for saying that. I completely agree. That includes you too. Okay, well, there's no other hands for public comment. Just going to pause for a minute or a couple seconds to see if there's any others. Carolyn Swanson?
Hi. I'm sure you missed me. I have a website question. I really appreciate that the district has now organized the reopening plans portion of the website. I was checking it daily, so I feel like this is like a personal victory for me, even though I realize all the families now benefit from this. But I'm confused by two of the documents that are on there, and that's related to the elementary school opening. So on the website, I see there's the elementary school full distance learning schedule, which is like a one-page document. And then there's also the elementary school draft distance learning plan. Can you can maybe Buck or Sean speak to which one of those is the most relevant for our families right now today, if they wanted to know what happened at this meeting tonight?
Carolyn, we didn't post them when we sent this plan to the district office. We put draft because it hadn't been approved by the board yet, and so that's the reason why the word draft is on it. My hope is that the two plans there are similar and aligned, but I haven't had a chance to actually click on the links and view them for myself. So I apologize for an answer that's not real accurate.
That's okay. I'll follow up with you later and find out which one is the best one. Thank you so much.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. I'm seeing no other hands at the moment. Just kind of give a little pause again. We'll come back. We've had about 20 minutes or so, 26 minutes. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring it back to the board for action on this item or discussion. So I have a question. I'm going to go to the board, but I have a question as well. For tonight and for tomorrow and Monday and part of Tuesday, Principal Keller and Rogaman, do you need anything approved tonight, or just the discussion is enough to let you move forward with your plans? So is there anything that is pending our approval tonight for you to move forward with your plans?
President Crandall, I think that we can move forward with the planning process, and to be honest with you, we are going to move forward with our planning process because we have to. Yeah. Regardless of the action that's taken here tonight. I think the critical part would be to have a plan approved before the first day of school. And so if the board is planning on having another meeting between now and August 12th, then that would give us time to bring the plan back. I think that would be a great time for our parents to really become familiar with the plan. We'll be able to send out detailed schedules for each grade level for what the day would look like, beginning to end. I know that one of our parents talked about that, like what would a day in the life of look like. And then that can also have those screen time, compilations on there. By then, Mr. Keller and I will work through that difficult decision of what kind of class list to build. I just kind of want to let the public know too, that we wanted to have a plan in place before we came to you with a planning night. That was kind of how we worked our ed advisory process, right? We had a plan or a couple of options for us to look at, and then we got feedback and adjusted the options as they go. And so, I think we're really sensitive to those comments that have come forth, because I know from watching Mr. Keller work that he bends over backward to stay in touch with parents and be open and receptive to them, both in person and the comments that he gets. And I think that really probably the biggest thing that has been missing for us really is that formal structured time for us to open up a meeting to all folks to come and to get the information that we really just built on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so from my perspective, board, and as always, each board member is going to have their time. My perspective is that we should just go ahead and discuss having a meeting and set the time tonight. So not only the staff knows what's going to be, and also the public will be able to know when this is going to be approved, because it does have to be approved. We have to approve the plan before August 12th, that's for sure. So because of the timing that we are right now, that's my proposal, is that we go forward on Tuesday and then vote on a plan after that. Christy?
Well, I agree with what you're saying. I like that they're going to go ahead and have the big meeting tomorrow and solidify a lot of these plans. If the forum is next Tuesday, perhaps as soon as possible after that, maybe even Wednesday night, that would give them time to get things written up, and we can come together again for a special meeting to handle this approval and the CSEA negotiations as well and get that wrapped up.
Okay. Thank you,
that's what
Christy.
we should do.
Okay. John Path?
Yeah, I see no real choice in it. The you know, the other town halls have had 193 and 248 people, and here we had 5 comments from the largest population, which is our elementary parent population. So we need to have the town hall in front of the vote on it. I don't see that anything's going to change all that drastically. This is it's very solid. It's clear that the work has been put in, but nonetheless, I think we have to wait. Wednesday's probably going to be a good day, but if you need Thursday, fine.
Okay. Thank you. Brian?
I'm fine with that. I want to make sure that we don't run into any kind of issues with actually having a meeting next week. Is there a way that we can actually pin our follow-up meeting down so that you know where I'm going with that, right? I just don't want us to get hung up and so I don't want to kick it to next week until I'm sure that we can pin next week down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're gonna. I think the consensus. Well, I want to know what John Walton, what your opinion is, John.
You know, as long as we, give enough direction that the principals continue to move forward so they can give the teachers some direction, we have to give the teachers as much time as possible to prepare. Likewise, though, to what Trustee Paff said, we have to give opportunity for the parents to provide some input. I know, we feel like there's been some. I don't feel like there's been enough, and we need to have more. So I appreciate that we're going to have at forum next Tuesday. I will say to John Paff's comment, that's the biggest parent population of all the schools. I don't think an hour and a half for a town hall is going to be sufficient to get everyone's input. I would recommend to the staff they consider making that meeting longer and not cut off the parents that want to have input. I mean, if it ends early, it ends early, but given the fact this is going to be their one and only chance to provide input, I would try to make as much time as possible for the parents to provide input. And then absolutely, I'm happy to have another meeting next week and approve something finally.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think that's a consensus. So Dr. Porras, do you think Wednesday would work for the board meeting?
Well, I think as long as the principals feel like one day is enough reaction time from the town hall. If the principals feel like they're going to need a little bit more time to regroup with their staff or otherwise, then I would recommend Thursday. I don't mean to surprise Mr. Ogerman or Mr. Keller, but I just want to make sure that if they need an extra day, that we wait till Thursday. I don't know if they want to respond to that.
Yeah, and I was also going to ask them about the longer town hall as John was suggesting. Go ahead, Mr. Rowan.
President Crandall, Mr. Keller and I are happy to extend the meeting. And so we'd like some board direction on how long to schedule the meeting for. I think if we start at 5:30, then certainly an end time of 8 or 9 o'clock would probably be appropriate, and either one of us would be willing to do that. I think that if we're going to have a town hall meeting that goes until 8 or 9 o'clock, we would probably benefit from having that board meeting occur on Thursday, if that's possible, because we will want to process the feedback that we get from parents, hold a strategic elementary wide staff meeting so that we can see what aspects of the parent input are realistic for implementation.
Okay. I was thinking, what was it normally regularly scheduled for the town hall? 5:30 to.
It was 5:30 until 7.
It's an hour and a half.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'd say 8.
yeah, I was going to suggest 8 too, because I don't want everybody to be, you know, wore out at the same time. And I think if we have to extend it, we can, but I would agree to that. Does that work for you guys then? 5:30 to 8 for the town hall?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
One
So,
one thought, if I may, Madam President.
yes.
Because the community has now seen the plan that will be discussed at the town hall, so it won't be the first time that they see it. And this, I do want to make a notion on the website. Those two, Ms. Swanson pointed to 2 different schedules. They're actually one and the same. One's just an earlier iteration. So we'll get rid of the one that's earlier and make sure that the one that is on there is what you saw tonight at the board meeting. So families will have an opportunity to email ahead of time questions or concerns. So that will, I think, help keep the town hall moving along as well, because folks will have had a time to send some questions ahead of time as well.
Okay.
Very articulate, but that's the thought.
Okay. Okay, back to the board for a time for the meeting on Thursday. I think we should try for Thursday.
Agreed. There's no sense in rushing. These guys are moving ahead with their plans even tomorrow, and then that'll give them sufficient time to hone any information that they receive that they want to integrate. Thursday's great. I don't know what I'd do with my Thursdays if I can't be with all of you.
Debbie, Thursday, 6:30.
Yeah, I was going to say 5:30, but is 6:30 better for you guys?
It's the normal start time. We don't have a closed session item. I would say let's start at 6:30.
Okay. Brian, does that work for you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
Ralph, do we have a closed session item?
Well, we typically put the any approval of an MOU or contracts that are on open session, we typically have a closed session for. However, so that we can discuss any items that are necessary to discuss in confidentiality. So we typically do. We can just keep that to a half hour. So if you like 6:30 open session time, we can have closed session start at 6.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay. And Brian, does that work for you? 6 closed session, 6:30 open?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Like that.
And John Walton works for you?
Yep.
Okay, great. We don't have public comment time, but Carolyn, you have another question?
I have a quick question. I love the town hall idea. I just worry that having it only in the evening only addresses families who are off work in the evenings. And so would it be agreeable to you guys to do a morning and an evening, exactly the same format, maybe, I don't know, an hour and a half or 2 hours of each one, so that families who are working, not the traditional 9 to 5, can have a chance to participate in this public process? Thank you.
I would, Debbie, can I respond to you?
Please go ahead, John.
I think we are stretching to try and push a town hall in a very short time frame, and doubling up is significantly problematic. So
yeah, I was just going to say the same thing, different way, but thank you, John. And also that we being consistent, we haven't offered that with any other sites, so I don't know that we will do that at this time. Okay, but thank you for the suggestion, Carolyn. Okay, so board, do I have we have to vote on that for the meeting?
Well, yeah, that would be your action tonight. Yeah, we don't really need to vote on it. We have direction. That's sufficient enough, I think.
Okay, so we just announce the special meeting in our normal time frame.
Yeah, we'll get an announcement out tomorrow.
Okay, all right, so for those on the line, just to confirm what we were just saying, so we're not going to make any action on the elementary plans tonight, you've heard the discussion that we're gonna have a town hall meeting from 5:30 to 8 on Tuesday. And that invitation will go out, is that the day before, or
It's a
do we
special
know?
meeting, so it can be 24 hours in advance. We'll try to get it out sooner than that, but we'll have the town hall invitation out shortly, probably tomorrow.
Okay, so town hall will go out, and then we'll send out the board meeting, a special board meeting within 24 hours of Thursday at 6:30. And really that's the direction we'll give with no action. And that is our last item, being that this is a special board meeting as well. So, Dr. Porras, anything else that we need to talk
No,
about, or?
I think we're good for the evening, Madam President.
Okay. As always, I want to thank everybody that participated tonight and joined into the meeting. Thank you just for continuing to be patient with all of us. And I just really want to applaud the teachers and the administration. Really, this is like, I don't think we'll ever see anything like this again. I hope not. But you guys have really rose to the situation and doing the best you can. And we support you. So with that, all take care. We will talk to some of you on Tuesday and then again on Thursday, and meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, Debbie.
Good job, Debbie. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.